Hello, everyone. This is the Alchemical Read, and this is October the 14th, Friday, 2022. Look, and my little recorder.
Did you say good morning?
I did say good morning. Okay, so it's dark out, and it's actually 7:45.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
This
we
is
are.
Suzanne.
And Robert.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening.
And
Suzanne here.
And Christina.
There we are.
And Sandra.
We're all here, kind of. We might not be all here, but we're here.
Yeah, big day.
Big day. Today's class is called, our book is called Scaling the Continent of Ourselves. I love that title you came up with. It's just wonderful.
It's definitely what's happening.
It is indeed.
We scaled a lot today.
It has been a big day. Excuse me. The cover of what will be the flip book on our webpage that you'll see is combining all parts to the whole. We begin to accustom ourselves to our own diversity.
And we'll touch base with this, that this is not only, we call this class the Alchemical Read, and it came out of 10-year classes or 8-year classes of the Realm Awareness. And we have been doing this for about 13 years. And each week we come together with a new topic and a new body of work that helps us, that's all about the time we're actually in. And then intuitively it's used, and it'll be the time, whichever one you pick, that you're in.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's very magical that way.
It works beautifully that way, doesn't it?
And we are Robert and Suzanne,
Mm-hmm.
Clarity House, and then Sandra and Suzanne and Christina are part of Clarity House and part of this team that we have worked with as family that now are our promoters that are actually helping take the work that's meant so much to them and us into the world in a bigger way. It's kind of a big job,
It is
really.
a big job.
We've all lived inside of it, and that's what it takes. There's 5 of us, and it's taken all of us, our courage and our fortitude and consistency and constancy, to live inside of these questions and answers, these ways of being deeper into ourselves, and also how to build love and compassion and community with others as we do all this.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else y'all wanted to say about that?
We're just excited to be able to promote.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a journey to take something that you've taken in yourself and find a way to share it and integrate it with others. And so we've been on that journey of exploring how to do that and been having to dive deep enough to be in so close and so deep with it ourselves, with clearing things and blocks to it and our own voice and expressing ourselves. And now it's taking that next step, that next leap, that after moving the blocks out of the way is now actually doing it, and finding the voice and what's authentic for us to be able to share it from what we've experienced. And so
that's very cool.
Where we're at.
You might have to talk a little louder.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Only because it's after dark.
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat green vegetables after dark, and I think it's hard to hear after dark. There's so much dark traffic
You're
out
so
there.
funny.
So we will proceed without my idiosyncrasies.
Your diversity.
Yeah.
Yes, the
Yeah.
diversity.
Oh, I can't believe we're at mid-October already.
Yes.
It's pretty
Oh.
phenomenal.
Oh, and we had so much fun sending out the October spoon.
Mm-hmm. Long spoon was
Yeah,
wonderful.
with our membership.
Mhm.
And it's been so fun for us to receive it that way. We've been making it part of our deep listening and part of our time, with each other, with ourselves. It's been so fun to have it laid out, and you don't have to try to figure it out. It's just all laid out there. We plan this next month to even deepen it more and have more there, because we realized we would like some more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and what's so cool, I think we mentioned it last week too, but as the month is unfolding, we're finding more and more how the long spoon, the content of it is revealing more about where we actually are during this time as a world, as a family, as a community, and even individually. It's speaking to all of that. It's like rolling itself out as the days go by of the month. We're seeing and feeling all of that, so that's exciting to be able to share together, realizing that anybody else that's on the membership page or in the membership area that's receiving the long spoon, then we all are traveling together.
Right.
It may look like we're separate in different homes, different places in the world, but we're all traveling together inside of these themes that are all revealing themselves to us as we go along.
And we're really grateful to the Alchemical Read class that we've been doing this together for 13 years, and it's been remarkable commitment and fellowship and sisterhood to get together as we did. Now, with all the changes with the pandemic and just changes in the rhythms, but we did that every single Friday, and we worked with a new body of work. We sat and listened and talked, and we're a family together, and a sisterhood, and with Robert, and we're really grateful for the time, the nourishment that all of this Reed has given to us and has allowed us to give to them.
Yeah.
And in it, we also we are starting to share it outside of just the Reed, because the potency now is more ripened and ready. And so we hope that people will enjoy it. We're going to put it on the long spoon. I think we'll put this class, and last week's class was really especially good, that really helped in October. We'll put those on the long spoon, so there'll be additional things. So Priscilla, look for that, and Diane, when this comes out, that we'll be putting these classes on the long spoon. In addition, you will get yours.
Yes.
Yeah. I love about the long spoon is that it's already set up, so it has links, and all you do is touch the link, and it takes you directly to it. You don't have to go into the website and try to find it. To me, even for myself, that is a great convenience. That's fabulous. Okay, are we ready?
We are. Shall I start?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, scaling the continent of ourselves. Introduction. Forgiving all spaces, capitalizing all nouns, verbing all verbs, taking all metals to their gold is what this time is for.
You think possibly, before we go farther deeper,
Can
you
we
couldn't
get bigger?
put it back at the beginning. Can you go to the end and share with the class
Sure.
what
Let's
Peter...
go there first.
I don't know if any of you all know Peter Nichols or you've met him. He's a very, very interesting man, and very, very sweet and caring. And we got together with him in the garden last week because he had asked, when we sent out the note, he'd asked that he would love to get together. He's actually has lived in Paris, and he is a writer, and he came, and he's a sea captain. And we first met him in connection with his book Evolution's Captain, and he and his newly wedded wife, they had moved here to Campton, and he was just so fun to know and talk to, because I really don't get to talk to serious writers very often, and I love his books and his adventures. And so anyway, he came out. We had such a fun afternoon. We talked about everything, and we showed him the book that actually we featured, the origamic presence, and then some of the other things we were doing, and it was just really, really fun. And we got to hear about his adventures and what's going on, and he's in fact going, I think, to Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and then on to, he's going to actually on 3 cruises to the Antarctic. He's going to be like their historian,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to give talks and things on the cruise
Mm-hmm.
on the history of the Antarctic area, because he studied a lot of that in his book, The Evolution's Captain, about Darwin. And so it's really, I think that sounds so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. Anyway, he was so excited about the time we spent, and he loved it so. And we had told him about the funny thing we shared with you all about the last time the lady saying that we were, what was it, Robert?
Weird genius creatives
And that
And
she
she-
didn't know if we were even
of the same species.
of the same species, but she absolutely loved us, and she
Mhm.
couldn't wait for the next amazing thing we were going to do. And we felt it was very complimentary and very excited about it. But I remember Peter saying, well, he says, you're not so much weird. He said, as rare. You're rare.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt so good. So we had asked him, and he had offered to, and we asked him to write a piece for our website, a blurb
Mm-hmm.
about our work and everything, that we could use that kind of support right now. And he took several days to do it, and really went deep into it. And I cannot believe the beauty and the generosity and the recognition that he spoke, and then he backed it up with his own work, as you know, as someone who is a authentic writer that loves what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to read it to you, Robert.
Okay, so at the end of the flip book, but we'll go ahead and mention it now, it says, we've included this wonderful blurb for our website from the writer Peter Nichols. Quote, I've known Robert and Suzanne, who inseparably comprise Clarity Artists, for many years. They create in their work and in their lives a unique but entirely accessible world where thought and word and image blend inextricably. A liminal space that dazzles, yet astonishes with its familiarity. They show us what we know and have forgotten. Their work strikes us at a molecular level. They reveal what exists inside us all, unlocking the dreams and the motifs of childhood and beyond. Peter Nichols, author of The Rocks, Evolution's Captain, A Voyage for Madmen, and Sea Change. And then he said, as an aside, he said,
And he lives, right now he lives here.
Yeah.
In Camden.
Mm-hmm. And as an aside, he said, really, I'm just groping here. How do you pin down something that touches you on a subconscious molecular level? So please, play around with it as you like. The main thing is, I love your work, and I am happy to say so. Much love, Peter. So we're happy to share this with everyone, and
We feel
it
very
meant a lot
touched
to
and proud.
it warmed our hearts,
Yeah.
truly.
We needed to hear that in
Mhm.
a time of,
A little sound.
yeah.
So we'll go back to I
This
read the
is the-
introduction,
Yeah.
and this is the beginning of the book. You want to start?
Mm-hmm. Scaling the continent of ourselves. Opening up all the cages that canaries fly free. The sparrow wisely engages what holds us back. What chooses the feather of this flight is the narrow pointed pen of the written word that knows how to hold the letters squarely as it initiates the pen of the thread.
And then here we have that
we have
wonderful
the-
garden collage.
This is a
that you
collage.
did.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
Each day listening for the tiny bell of the intuitive go. I just love that. And with
No,
a
that's
close up
fabulous.
of the forehead of the Buddha right
Uh-huh.
there. That's so good.
That was so fun to do.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if we can make that a little smaller again, and then here you go.
We know the brilliance, numerical, of all the poses that are now falling into place, that have become more angled into the seed of a newer promise. The spoken word of brilliance has now surfaced, and the potentiality is gifted in the character of need. When all knowing, when We all know, reaching every point of circumference, the narrow reed of travel potentiates the sound of truth. The spoken formula is now given a new grace, and the full volume is gathered into the whispers of one ear.
And this collage goes so well with this page.
Yes,
So
it does.
the DNA strand has a life beyond its time. We make open its meaning so we can understand. And it's got that coiled spiral going up diagonally through the picture.
And I think this inspired out of a lot of the new discoveries that actually the DNA of someone actually stays behind in place, and that they have found that your DNA, if you are in a place, that often part of the DNA stays there, and
when you've left the room,
when you've
it's
left
still
the
there.
room, it's still there.
Still registers.
Yeah, and so this came out of the DNA has a life beyond its time. We make open its meaning so we can understand. And there's even DNA of ancient people that still remain in these places that they've opened up, like in the pyramids, or that they've opened up that have been, it's been there for, eons even. But even our DNA will often be in a place for maybe 30 days. That's kind of odd, isn't it?
It's very odd.
One meaning of recall,
Fascinating.
One meaning of recall after another counterpoints the navigational positions, the territory regulation. The resonance of gratitude is now effective in negotiating all needs, and the mapping navigates the needs with ease. And I wonder if you can actually, like, call your DNA with you, like gather it up and say, come on.
Follow me.
Oh, that's
Follow
good.
me, let's go home. Yeah. I think
love
that's
that.
someone very conscious.
Uh-huh.
Also, there are people very conscious that leave their DNA behind, so it can be good and not good. The focal point of this time is spoken on in many levels. We are now taken into the ease. All is being meant into an activating manner of wisdom. The full territory now being spoken gives the sound of copper. We are now inside the yellow time, which is navigated.
Goes so good with that collage.
Bringing together the intent with place. We all, I've got that on there quite. We all points. No. We. I don't know what the we is. Oh well. All points of the square. Oh, we all points of the square, and we begin to bend. I wonder, I was kind of out with that one.
We are all points of the square.
Bringing together the intent with place, we all points of
Are.
Well, we pull in all points. Maybe that's in all points of the square and begin to bend.
Yeah.
That we claim. That's very much with the leaving the DNA. That you claim yourself in all directions, back to yourself, and then you begin to bend into. Okay, you want to read the next part, Katie?
The realization that it all falls through the course is a signal that time is kept and treated as if it does matter. All can now come down to the floor and see where it is born and what the borning multiplies. I love the borning. The spoken word settles at the feet of bird, and the foot is pressed into the sand as if it knows how to write. The purpose is unfurled through the meaningful strike of will that is centered into the pocket of compassion. A better place to be centered.
I love this collage.
These collages
This is
are
a new
amazing.
one.
Aren't they
Thank
wonderful?
you.
Oh, I like
They
that
really
one so
are.
much.
Moving time and space, we began to take up time and space, yards and acres, multiplexes and universes in one room.
There's some folding going on.
I love that one. All is natured in this time. The sacred is combing through all the fibers of witness, and the relationship is spoken through the heart. The realization that time is completing a cycle of awareness, as we all must stay tuned to our own station of sovereign navigation.
That is so purposeful.
We are taken through the need. This is the thing, is that as you become more conscious, and more consciously your whole body shifts and evolving, and if you use this work, you'll know all the different conscious areas that you were dealing with that all at once start shifting. And it's like I realize all these years that you just think you keep on living, but when I look about what I thought and lived years ago, I realize how much I've changed, and I'm grateful. So it's nothing to take for granted.
Me too.
And it's something that has happened for us through this work, and those that we work with, and in intention, the whole world. We are taken through the need to the very fine line of positional currency. So all at once we start realizing that our need is currency, and that it actually our need manifests. The narrow division that floats to the surface of the needle threading accumulates speed, so the division can no longer be separated from itself. When the turn of the key becomes potent in its perception, there will be a whole new level of opportunity. There's so much in that. Okay, honey?
And this collage here is replacing one moment with the insertion of the next. We begin to realize what space is and make it. So space is for inserting into the creative expression, and so you start creating.
In every moment when you insert need, you start inserting power and desire, and that creates motion. Replacing one moment with the insertion of the next, we begin to realize what space is and make it. So we know the power of one moment following the other. And then if you start realizing where you're moving, you start making space for it. And space is so powerful when you are ready for it. And when you make space for it, then it can change your whole life. Spoken firmly through the surface of the voice, the box opens and the threaded map relays its curve. There is a new layer of coming round, and this layer surfaces many frequencies that now need to be heard. Okay, honey.
The purpose of visionary compliance is to elevate many new levels of currency of speed rate change. The spoken volume of necessary need is given the placement of character and creates a deeper realization that time is actually a significator, and space is an emotionary vehicle. I just love
That's
that.
a really cool concept.
Time is actually a significator, and space is an emotionary vehicle.
And it's a reality.
And here is this collage. I like the house shape in the middle with all those 4 collages around, 3 collages. The beginnings of everything are mycelial in some way. We must test the soil for pH balance of intent.
Oh,
That is so good.
that's cool.
I really to think about this, Christina, because Christina had mentioned that it was really a wonderful concept. And that's what I've always thought too. That's a great concept, and we create concepts and we work with them. But I've come to something different now. All at once, when you said that, I would have said it too, and then all at once, I knew that it's a reality. And some point, this work has to shift from conceptualization or concept to a reality, but you can't force it. You can't force it into a reality. It has to be that. And I think the work, we saw it as a conceptual and a concept over so many years because we hadn't really completely experienced it as a reality.
Yeah, we were in the alchemical phase of that.
Yes.
You know.
But somehow, because you said that it was like an indicator, it was a significator that kind of woke me up, and it was like, no, this is a reality. And the reason you said it is we're just now moving that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's like we're in the in-between of the concept and all at once it's reality. It's kind of a Pinocchio thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. With the Pinocchio.
Do you see that, Christina?
Yeah.
It's we are going through kind of a Pinocchio thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pinocchio was he was a wooded boy, and he was alive through magic. But at some point, the magic was a concept, and it started becoming a real. And I think some point of the work it talks that we have to move to flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Oh yeah.
I think the flesh is like it's like Pinocchio moving to being flesh.
Yeah.
Like the Velveteen Rabbit moving from the little stuffed rabbit so loved into the flesh of a real rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And we've kind of thought about it in our processes in the last month. But I realize now that it's not just a thought, it is actually happening. It keeps moving at another layer, and that this whole thing that time is actually a significator and space is an emotionary vehicle. That's a reality. It is the reality of Pinocchio becoming a real boy,
Wow.
That's really cool.
of this work becoming a real flesh and body,
Mm-hmm.
a real cellular responder, just like Peter talked about. I think when Peter said it, we were like Pinocchio, but he said we were real. We were like a real little boy, like the Velveteen Rabbit. You're a real rabbit. Like we are. Our work really does work cellularly. You really, and it was like we kept. It's like all these years we kept believing this and feeling it and working with it and everything, but it's been shifting since the pandemic into a real significator and emotionary vehicle.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, Christina, because I hadn't really seen it all the way, because we were in that place between concept and a reality.
Right.
The beginnings of everything are mycelial in some way. We must test the soil for pH and intent. I love that.
Whenever we begin to know more than the content, we are starting to need on many new levels that have never spoken to us before. We move through and under, we stop, we squat, we look around, we listen, we become one with the below, and the mother rises to meet us. That is so good, that rooted essence coming up to us. When the necessary becomes more possible, the narrow reed of existence begins to thicken and become strong. This is a volume left within all of us, and what has happened finally becomes spoken. That is so good. And with this, this collage, and there's that spiral going diagonally in the other
Like the
direction this
DNA.
time, yeah. Forming.
And look at this, what's
wow.
going on in
It's
here.
amazing.
Oh, it is beautiful. It's like undersea and above at the same time.
And the Fey world. It's really
You want to read that one?
forming all around our own circumference spin. We locate our sense of place.
It feels like I would want like the biggest option that Fine Art America where could put that print on like the biggest option. Like just that could just be like take up an entire wall. Like,
Oh my
it's
God.
just-
I know,
It's
it's
awesome.
delicious.
Oh, I
That is
love
so
that.
cool.
48 by 60.
Yeah, whatever the biggest one
Yeah.
is.
Uh,
And put it on metal.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
goodness.
yes. Oh, speaking copper.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
wow.
I love that.
Between the layers, there is an invisible capacity, and this capacity, the spoken word, smooths through the combing air of self-reliance. Realizational quality comes through the narrow focus, and the wind does know your name.
I think that a part of coming alive too is that we've actually relied on this work.
Yeah.
And that reliance creates this realizational quality, and it's like it really takes it from the word or the concept into the courage and the bravery and the time needed to actually let it become alive for you. That you give it room, you give it time, you let it walk around you, you let it heal you. A lot we are so anxious about in the whole medical world is that we don't feel we have time for anything else, and so our self-reliance is gauged in a different way. It's about the, and it's actually confusing, and it's it discourages us, and it's hard. It's really hard to stay with it something until it becomes real. Yeah. Sharing space with the planetary need gives patience to the reality. The resonant square spins all its corners, and the circular emotion of consciousness, completing the surface of every thought. We volume through the potency of truth and shimmy down the pole of north, south, east, and west.
I love this.
And I love this one. It's like all the travel, the wheels.
know.
It's like a boat on wheels on land, and it's like all the travel through all the different seasons and circumferences and places, taking the same initiative and belief with you as you go.
I love that. The narrowing vision of time takes us all through the calculated speed rate of the truth of decision. Volume after volume of the widening scope moves all that is potent into its fruition. The folding matter of time creates a soft pastel boat in the memory. And that collage just
Isn't that
goes
awesome?
so
Yeah.
well with that.
I know.
It
It
sure
shows-
does. God, that's another one you could
And you really,
have it be full size.
I like how we put them into these after we've written it. The folded thought of division creases itself so the corrugation can begin, and the distance comes in close.
And isn't that funny the way it does that? That there really is no dividing or division. It's a folded thought of it has of division creates itself, and it's actually a fold, but it's thought of as a division.
As a division, yeah.
But it's not, and so it's making itself available so the corrugation can begin, and the distance comes in close. So then when the folding happens, there's like a thought, oh, this is being divided, but it creases itself to get ready to be multiplied. But a lot of times we feel that we're being divided when actually we're creasing ourselves to become corrugated enough to be multiplied. And I think that is very much for us what's happening and feeling.
And that's really, because an example of that would be like if you had a a piece of paper, say the size of a typewriter paper, 8.5 by 11, and you drew the number 1 on it. It went from top to bottom, and then you creased it, in half, from the width ways, not the length ways. Fold it in half, and on one side is 1. You flip it over, and there's 1 again. So now you've got 2 1s just from the crease. So it is the dividing is
multiplying.
Wow,
So you can't
I love
separate
that.
any of it from any of it.
So it's not a process of death, it's a process of life.
Wow. Did you read that whole part right there?
The folded thought of division creases itself so that corrugation can begin, and the distance comes in close. The precisional need of intention is given room, and the recalculating begins. The situational volume that is current in this world is current in all worlds, and this makes the decisionary volume very keen.
That's very, very interesting, because if you're talking about other worlds, that they are in the creased thing that looks like they're divided out, but they're really multiplied. It just goes with it numerically.
And it's for them to be close in, to be part of.
And then this is such a perfect collage.
I
with
love
this
this
one.
collage.
Again, with the spiral
that is
DNA
amazing.
shape in there, diagonally through there. The formula of willingness is conveyed through energy. All connections honored as desired. Oh. Positional folds wrap around the core of what needs protection, and safety is made real. Within the safety is a registry of motionary alliance, and the alliances bring forward their flowing rate speed matched with the navigational volume. So that is really in tandem with one another. Matched in number and matched in time. The equating factors enumerate their positional folds and relate to creating two time. Time to unmeasured surface, the surface being the face of reliance seen. The scene is then measured for its exuberance and pitch of volume.
And this looks like all that
Wow.
I
happening.
know, look at that.
Oh gosh.
That large eye in the center there.
It's so
With
funny
all that
because I
energy.
think Izzy and David, your grandchildren, they both are like really into drawing eyes.
Oh,
Mhm.
yes.
And I think that because
grew
they
up
grew
with
up
that.
in this work, I think
Uh-huh.
that they really, like, I don't even think they really consciously even realize how much eyeballs you guys have there is in all of your work.
That's what they.
So I think
Yeah.
they've been really
Yeah.
imprinted by that in a really positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Izzy gave me a beautiful eye she had done.
Mhm.
So it's right there at my desk looking me in the eye.
The
That's funny.
insight. That's what
Uh-huh.
it is. And it says the spoken forward always yields to time, and the memory records the fold. Yeah.
So how important the voice is.
Mm-hmm.
How important to speak forward that it brings, it records the fold. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we're all embodying right now in a bolder way and trying to become more is we've done the quiet, we've done so many levels of the process, but this one is speaking the spoken forward. It's that always yields to time, and the memory records the fold, and that's a big part of the process of, you see, what is that in robots? You see a need, you fill a need.
Oh yeah.
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 And a lot of times we saw the need, but now we got to speak the need. We got to speak the fold, and so it's not enough to assist. That it's even more important to speak in the assistance,
Mm-hmm.
and if you see a need and you want to assist, to speak the need that you want to assist with, that then all at once the silence that keeps everyone in the guessing game and not really knowing, and when you're in the guessing game you can't move forward. And so it's very important that it's just like enthusiastic receiver and enthusiastic doer. There will come a time that that is really, really needed. And they're trying to take it off of social media. They now, a lot of them only work with like, and because people are always, I guess, evaluating whether they were liked or loved, but they're going in the opposite direction of the need. The need is there should be more loves, more enthusiastic receivers, and they should speak it so that everyone can breathe in this the joy of what that gives, so they can continue, and so they're trying now to limit it. There's some of the things are you can only punch like, and nothing else will register. And I just think that's interesting, all that battle about that's going on, all about speaking forward and the importance of it and whether people are going to do it or not. Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah, it's really time into measure. The circumference is noted for its depth of penetrational volume, and the reach is given speech. The voice overrides the buffer of silence, and the made real is received of its note of pleasure. And that's what's being denied, that note of pleasure. There's so much fear around it. It's like, well, whatever you give, it might not create a note of pleasure, or it will. And somewhere we have to override it.
Yeah.
Focused by the numeric equation of lift, the gur is shimmed into place, and the hand is given the go ahead. Through the wave of beat, the whole note is struck as currency, and the rise makes its way through.
And the collage. Hey, that's me in there.
Yeah, it's all
And my braid.
Oh my god.
Oh, this is back when we were in Warren, actually. Or maybe that's at Lincoln Street. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would.
It's so
I'm not
beautiful
sure.
there.
Thank you. Measuring the full registry, we begin to circumnavigate our entire world for parameters.
Yeah, parameters.
Thank you. And I like the circumference there. Coming into time is the reach, and the touch of made is found in its ratio of balance. Balanced are the numbers, balanced are the letters, and the pen allows its needled presence to be noted. As the pen passes over the surface, the lettered marks are etched as salt into the memory for ease of passage. The ticket exchange is valued by its look, and the noted is carried through customs of interchange. The narrow focuses its will forward, and the amount is no longer governed by the loss of power. The inherent marks of inclusion are made aware and awake to the final passage of note to hand to made to relief.
Now this is right here is a huge consciousness shift. Because of here, it's the narrow focus is its will forward, and the amount is no longer governed by the loss of power. That's what's in times when the speaking forward, the going forward, it's governed because it feels if it doesn't watch all that, it may lose power. And so if you put a like on, you won't lose any power. If you put a love on, you might lose power. You might lose power. You might be wrong about it, over enthusiastic, or you might lose power just by giving. And so this is a huge consciousness shift about caring and giving and power. The whole thing with Russia and
The Ukraine.
the Ukraine is all about this. It's the will forward, and the whole world is looking to see, well, do they do their will forward in support or where they lose face and some power.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're right.
And-
It's
and-
about power, yeah.
Yeah.
isn't it?
And
Yeah.
so it's all about losing face
Yeah.
if you support forward. So there's a lot of narrow movement and a lot of very, very weighed movement when a country finally moves power to the Ukraine or support. It's like a chessboard. They've
Yeah.
already measured all the other movements and whether, how that will, what that will do.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that there comes a time when nothing is weighed. It's as light as a feather.
Mm-hmm.
That is the whole thing in the Egyptian mysteries, is that it becomes light as a feather because you're no longer governed by the loss of power. So all at once, what you give, it has no weight in it.
Yeah.
And that's what determined whether a being could go on through the duat freely,
Mm-hmm.
or they fail and their heart is given to crocodiles.
Mm-hmm. There's Hook again.
There's Hook.
Yeah.
Yes, he was given to the crocodiles. His heart was too big and heavy.
Yeah.
Not big, little and heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The inherent marks of inclusion are made aware to the final passage of the note to hand, to made, to relieve.
Wow.
Then
Go ahead.
the collage is all parts continue to be connected to the whole. And there's the circle there.
That is wonderful.
I love how my braid goes down to this other
Yeah,
painting,
reaches
which
right
then
down
becomes
in.
black and white, and the white is like a curved continuation of the braid.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
God,
That's
it
kinda cool.
is, Rob.
Oh my
And
God.
when we went upstairs to the third floor today,
Uh-huh.
in the smaller room that used to be, actually our bedroom,
Mhm.
one of our little bedrooms
Mhm.
when the kids first came, that we occupied.
Uh-huh.
But it was also our little was a summer room from the larger room. We went in there to get by the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyhow, it was one of our favorite rooms.
Yeah.
And
Lots of light.
yes, and then it became Izzy and Lily's room, and then
Uh-huh.
it's like it's gone through all these different passages.
Mhm.
And we used to read when the kids first came. Our room, we used to sleep in there, and the kids were right next to it. And then we used to read to them every night, and they would come into this little tiny room, and it's got the kind of arc, the V-shaped ceiling,
Mhm.
and they'd all cuddle up with us, and then we'd watch on a little small, I don't know, iPad or TV.
Mhm.
We'd watch the Frog and Toad and the Snowman and those kind of things. They were kind of slow and helped them all get a little wound down and was cozy, and we used to cozy it, and we'd watch those together in that little room.
Mhm.
And we were talking about the other day what a precious time that was, and then they would all then go to bed,
Mhm.
and we were up there with them sleeping. And it was very funny.
All parts continue
Sweet
to be
memories.
connected.
Uh-huh.
I love that.
Planetary relief is widespread, and the sound is volumed into a melody of notes, which mark the throat with character. The character brings listening, its noted construction, and the plans are laid out for reference.
Mhm.
You want to unpack that a little bit?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if everyone could hear you over Hoppy's snoring.
Oh, he is snoring over there, isn't he? Well, tonight, because for once it got kind of warm in here, so we opened the doors, and then we have road traffic from the wet road, so we're having to speak up. Okay, the planetary relief is widespread. Well, that's kind of a surprise, because you think of something that, if you think of something changing, usually you think of it locally. Either it happened to you personally, or it happened close, near at hand. But to hear that it's widespread, this relief. So we're going into a phase of relief, and it's planetary. That is wonderful news. And it's volume. So the volume is widespread. So melody is like kind of a pleasant harmony, a melody. And so, let's see, that marks the throat with character. So what we're going to be hearing from all the characters in the world, the diversity, all the characters in the world will begin. It's like, is it during the spring when the peepers come out, the frogs that do their peeping? Yeah. Well, it's going to be like that. All of a sudden, you're going to start hearing all these notes, these melodic notes, all around the globe.
That everything is greening.
That everything is greening. So this is a greening, even though we're going into fall. There's something special that's happening. It says the character brings listening its noted construction. So listen for it. Listen for the notes of harmony and a pleasant, a pleasure-filled melody. And the plans are already laid out. So you have a reference to look toward and forward to. Referenced are the Platonic solids, the geometric alliance. The geometric instead of geometric are more of a mycelial, feminine.
I mean, the geometric, yes.
Yeah, the geometric as opposed to the geometric. The geometric alliance. So the referenced are the Platonic solids, the geometric alliance, and the mother tongue. This trinary composition brings the relief necessary to penetrate the limitational qualifications and move past the barrier to found. So we're going to find these notes of harmony are penetrating beyond the limitations and the suppressions. It's just going to happen. It's an organic uprising that's going to happen in a positive way.
That's a good news.
And
He's the first,
he really goes with it, doesn't he? This
Guardian of the Heart that we did in the series. I
and he's
love
got
him.
the sounds of color coming out of his mouth. Volume and
He's a
power.
birdman.
Oh my gosh. Volume and power are sacred to the soul. Only the heart knows how to balance these. Yeah, Guardians of the Heart.
And then there's two mycelial patterns.
Yeah, oh my
He's
gosh.
like, it's like
Yeah,
holding him in that V.
yeah.
That is really cool.
That is so good there. Founded is the sound of reassurance. Founded to the measure of gift. Founded is the way forward beyond the laid out. The path forward eases the way, and the string of successes are marked through the planetary connections. So there is a real, the word alliance is really very forward right now. So in order to have that much pleasurable harmony and melody of sound suddenly coming forward, and it's global, is because it's planetary. So there's a whole alliance that's creating this. There's enough volume for it to happen, in other words.
And then all at once it leaps to universal.
And that's something. Folded forward and bent back are only two of the multidimensional courses laid out, while the ease of side to side breaks free of containment and aims its arrow into the fabric of resilience. So you've got all the directions working.
Yeah.
And with this collage here, ooh, I
love
love
this one.
that one. So this is on, when you see the flip book, it is on page, where's my, I need my other glasses. Bear with me for a second. It's a beautiful collage, and it is on page 16 of the flip book. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
It's outstanding.
And it says the meaning of washed through is for the heart to create acceptance and the flow. So can you imagine what's washing through the heart? Is all the pleasure.
And he's the guardian of the heart.
Yeah.
But he's
so
more like
cool.
a water being.
Yeah.
He's so wonderful. And then there's two of the avatars, the patterns that are like holding.
Holding that space.
Yeah, or like a
with him.
situla holding
Yeah,
him.
yeah. Isn't that something?
Oh, you're getting to see the patterns as situlas.
That is so cool.
Wow. And that's what they do for us too.
The quiver releases its hold, and the arrows are allowed to fly free and find their marks. This release allows the marks to be made and the sovereignty to be reclaimed within the battle for freedom. Freedom of voice, freedom of value made real, freedom of equation folded into a match that hits its mark. So the success of hitting the mark is matched
It's
with.
got to match that. You want to put an S on that hits.
Oh, that. Yes, hits its mark. That hits its mark. Thank you.
Thanks, hon.
There. Let me get that saved.
Boy, I love that collage.
Mm-hmm. So perfect there.
Whoa.
Do you want to read some? Or you want me to?
Torn is not the paper etched. Torn is not the note of tender. Torn is not the maverick of different. The individual is the freedom of voice as it gets its response and allows the lift to shim its way up and out.
Mm-hmm. So the response to what's seen, it lifts the shim. So the gur is aided by the freedom, and the freedom that the freedom of voice gets its response and allows the lift to shim its way up and out. And it says, creating a relationship with the heart allows so much more to assist us beyond our minds.
And these are all totemics. And so as we allow the Gaia world of totemics and animals and flowers, as we give them, we recognize them for the avatars they are and the power they are, they can do so much more for us. And so as we create a relationship with the heart, that allows us much more to allow us to have much more to assist us. We're not just in our minds about everything.
Yeah.
So then all at once we allow all the animals and the trees and the flowers to speak to us.
See, the mind.
And this guardian of the heart, they especially work with that.
Yeah. I love it. So much more to assist us beyond our mind. So the mind, until it comes to the heart mind, the mind itself is so judgmental that it tries to limit, shut down, judge. And so when the gur is allowed to rise and the shim is lifting up, then the mind, in order to control and limit, tries to judge it. But if you can come to the heart, creating a relationship with the heart, that allows so much more to assist us beyond the mind. And then the mind has a chance to become the heart mind. And then it's a whole different picture. What it sees is different than what it saw before. It may be the same thing, but it's viewed differently because the heart's involved. And then the gur can rise more easily. The shim is allowed to rise more easily, and then the currency flows. So it's all interwoven. It says seen. Seen is the registry. Heard is the safety. And the occasion is passed beyond judgment and into felt of real. Just like being made to feel real, not being judged. Real in form, real in shape, real in matter. Like this is the part of the levels of being fleshed out. The matter of the key to life is the manner of said, into the motion of go, the do of start, and the claim of just. What level? Those are like gears. Those are like gears moving.
Yeah.
You know, going from the key to life, the manner of said, click, into the motion of go, click, the do of start, click, and the claim of just. It's like it's turning the wheel, but beyond judgment. It's more like Ezekiel's wheel instead of the wheel of Sisyphus rolling up the hill and back down and squashing them over and over again. Just in time, just before, just in the moment of time, spun into space, folded upon its bed of leaves. The harvest of tree let down into the grounded of safety. The mycelial network is carried underground and creates a message of real. And that's why they have when things are suppressed and things go underground, and there's a whole underground culture
Yeah.
that can survive that way. So that's how the mysteries have survived. They all went underground and connected through the mother, through the mycelial network, and so they still exist. And now that it's safer to come above surface again, that you see them thriving, they really never went away, but they had to go into that
Wow.
underground state, into the dirt, into the deep earth,
And I feel like
to
that's what
find
we've done in the
to
pandemic.
find nurturance. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
to find the
That's
sustenance.
exactly what we've had to do during the pandemic.
Right. Yeah.
Look at that collage, how it goes so good there.
Oh God, I love this one.
Oh.
And it's in the other direction.
Now this is
I know.
ascending. That was the descending. This is ascending. Two hearts moving all mycelial patterns to the forefront of our day for heart connection. That's exactly what we were talking about. Wow. And there are the avatars.
And those are two females.
Yeah. Isn't that
It's
great?
beautiful.
Yeah. The depth is foretold, and the occupation is set forward so that the base of home is secure and fortified as the change is elevated. Just as the bird rises to its limb, the climb is moved in stages of allowance, and the thread of hope pinned to the collar of name. Mm.
Wow.
As the amount is given its relief, the words convey their meaning through the span of time, evolving with space, circumferenced and orbited by its own knowing. Reaching through the corrugated layers of memory, the release brings the measure of allotment into a calculated whole. That was really neat. Orbited by its own knowing.
I think this is Chandra Berry,
Mm-hmm.
which
I think
she
it
is
is too.
such a universal tincture. She is she really helps. She's a climber. She helps with the climb, but she also protects the body from all kinds of toxic. She actually helps the body release toxins.
Okay.
She's
So she works with the
you can
immune system.
like put her in your water.
Oh, yeah.
And drink from it all day. You
Mhm.
put drops in your water, and she'll constantly help you keep releasing toxins.
That's really good. And I love how this collage, this one you don't have
I
words
take her every
above
day.
and below, but the picture, there are two pictures in this collage. The one to the right very faintly says Tincture Fairy. It's like it's a very mysterious black and white
Like a video.
piece.
It was one that I did wrong, but I used it anyway.
But it's really
Oh, it's
cool
wonderful.
because it's very mysterious, and that shape of the black and white is almost like feathery.
Well, I couldn't type her out because I couldn't hardly see her.
Yeah.
But I love the way you said that.
But it's
'Cause I got to put her on.
again. It's ascending. It's that
Yeah.
triangular upward shape going on. That's so
Thank
cool.
you. Thank you.
Moving the portion to the whole, the remainder is given its room, and the divide is relieved of its moment. The momentary is moved through space to the point of extraction, and the pull forward activates the gur to emit light. So the gur is emitting light. The momentary is moved through space. So it's just a momentary time that, see, everything tries to create like a still picture, you know, and it's because it doesn't want to include movement and motion, and it's constantly moving.
Well, the still picture is trying to divide.
Yeah.
It's trying to divide it from the flow.
Yeah. And that's why with the patterns and with the collages, they're constantly moving. You're constantly looking at the flow and how it just keeps, it's not static.
It's the thing is, if we learn meditation, but meditation is an effort to still, and divide that moment out from all the others. And that's the way people begin. But at some point, their meditation has to be about stilling nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be about the flow and being able to be inside of it.
Yeah.
And inside of that movement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, in the beginning, you have to be still. But when they stay in that point, then they stay in the point of division.
Yeah. It's like the caught breath. You know, that's
Mm-hmm.
caught breath. It's like a moment of fear, only because it's a fear of moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you have to have that moment that you learn how to hold the flow,
Mm-hmm.
hold the moment in the flow,
Mm-hmm.
and make the flow that all of it one.
Yeah. Then it expands.
One
So.
and one and everything.
Wow.
And mothers have to do this. They're so good at it. They have this free life. They have a child, and they can't hold the child like strap it down, and you make it be still, and all that joy or that that feeling of who they are in themselves, they start flittering it away, and they think the only thing is that you have to hold the child, and you realize you can't do that or the child dies. So they have to learn to find that flow with the child, and that's an art form.
Mm-hmm.
That the child becomes part of the day. The child becomes, it's like you have this day. We've had to do it as artists. You have this day, and you're going to do this and this and this, and then all at once somebody stops by, and either they're going to stop the flow, or they're going to be part of the flow. And
Mm-hmm.
either they're what is actually killing the flow of the creativity, or they can become what is inside helping to create the flow of the creativity. And I had to do that with 5 children. And inside of that, I created a whole cottage industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to find my children as part of my play.
Yeah.
Part of my creativity, part of my joy and everything, or I was going to be at battle. I had way too many children to be at battle with them. And then it was like when I learned how to flow with them, then I actually created a cottage industry of 30 employees that I had to learn to flow with them.
Mm-hmm.
They were in my home all day long, 5 days a week. And so either they're going to interrupt me so bad that I just, die, or that I become disturbed, or they are part of it.
Yeah.
And I opted for them to be part of it. So they were in my house. They knew everything. And at the same time, I became everything.
Yeah. That is so spot on with this. The momentary move through space to the point of extraction, and the pull forward activates the GER to emit light. So you found the light inside all of those situations.
Yes.
Because you rose up beyond a sense of limitation and irritation.
I let them become part of my
and
girl.
aggravation, and you moved all the shuns out of the way to move
But I also
forward.
made them part of the GER.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. The lighted way is lit with color, not judged for its difference, and the diversity is honored for its beauty. This brings the room to rest, and the rest open their pockets to the taste of spoon resting upon their own lips.
Oh.
It looks like what I'm writing is on your lips.
Oh, Golly, look at that. I love that.
That is
so
right
fun.
there, is a picture of that.
Oh, I don't.
You created this the other day, and I thought it was magic.
Oh, and I didn't never notice that the
I'm writing into your mouth.
the collaging. That it was like part of it's more transparent. The forward part.
Mm-hmm.
But the hat, the beret thing that I was wearing.
Yeah.
actually looks way more colorful. Like there's, see all the figures?
Yeah, all the
Of
fingers
the-
are
The
in it.
toys on
Yeah,
them.
all the toys on there.
You see Dan.
But it
It
looks
looks like
like
part of your
it looks
hat.
like the colors of the hat until you
Oh
really
my
look closely,
gosh.
and then
It's
you
like
go,
you have this crown.
"Oh my gosh, look at that!"
You have this crown with the
Yeah.
toys all across it.
I love that.
Then Daniel up in the right hand side.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's so cool. Given is the taste, given is the flavor, given is the assimilation, as it pours out its nurturance and its compassion. The night is made light, and the dream of compliance is timed to allow the next to move into the present. Want to read some?
As the light is focused through the lens of many into the one of beyond number, its penetration stitches together the fabric of light imprensile patterns, and the formation brings the red thread into the weave of cloth that carries the stories of creational need as essence.
Mm.
Oh, I love that.
That reminds me of the hat that we were just
Oh,
talking about. The
oh,
weave of the stories and the creational need.
Uh-huh.
It's just essence.
I love this picture. This is
Mhm.
actually in the living room.
Ooh.
Isn't that? I mean, in the dining room.
Oh, and I love the
The pot?
the alchemical
Yeah.
Vessel.
vessel there.
Yes, it is.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and the beautiful one of the muses of the forest.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Uh-huh.
are there. I just
Oh my
I love
God.
this.
Yeah, Baba
There's
Yaga.
Baba Yaga door.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I
Very
love
fun.
that. That's an interesting
Great
angle
shot.
too.
Great photo.
Thank you.
Mm.
Verdant is the black, as the sky emits its spark of new, and the flavor of tone is played into the sky of distance. Distance made real, as the fold brings close the neighbor, and the fold brings into the motion a new registry of connection.
Mm.
I love that, Robert. That's your neighbor.
I know.
Hi, neighbor.
I know.
Hi. Speaking forward the reality that now consumes our minds, we begin to build a bend that we can fold into and remember how the crease is made and why it can endure. We secure our ways and our manners of being, and we account for our perspective senses of time and space.
Mm.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I love the two Firefly Illuminary collages here.
Yeah, it has
Yeah,
the
that's
different
really-
collages and their number.
Mm-hmm.
And we're actually taking the Constitutional 2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that one's on there.
Mm.
They're really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We are natured through the forgiveness, through all our associations. We are populated by a desire to exist. Isn't that awesome?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the world's
really cool.
populated by, a desire to exist.
Yes.
And the existio of ourselves places us freely into life. And the life forgives our sense of mediocrity and deepens us even beyond profound.
Mm.
Oh.
That's delicious.
Wow.
We count and pace ourselves, but are never given the room we need to take a full breath. The presence of a deepening is now acquiring our flesh, and we must forgive it of its own idiosyncrasies. We are now neighbored by the neighbor of ourselves, and we cannot remember quite where we met.
Oh, that's great.
That is so good.
Uh-huh.
That's the neighbor
Learning,
I wrote.
learning to know yourself. I know.
You want to read the thing?
Yeah, the collage. And
I
this is
love this
beautiful
collage.
flower collage here with that inset of lace.
And these are the luminaries being
Mhm.
made.
Yeah, it's an overhead shot of looking at all the flowers in the water. The exquisite mode of spiritual connection is woven through our potency and conversations with the flower. Oh, that helps us remember.
I love that.
We're becoming part of the flesh of flowers
Mm-hmm.
because their essence is becoming more available to our world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the deeper we root into this postage stamp space, the more fleshed out we become. It's really.
We get much mail
You
to
get
us.
more petals.
We sure do, from all over the place, galaxies even. The support system that is required to be in body is that we must become part of it as a whole, not forget,
But
not forget the whole we are. We make our time open to us, and we convey all its sequences into our own vessel of light. We are water based for the immensity of our content.
Oh,
I love that. That's
that.
why we're water based. It's so nice to get that answer.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of us being the drop in the ocean, each one of us being the ocean itself. Our capacity to life is the same planetarily, galactically, and universally. We are made to make ready, and we have entered the land of becoming.
Oh, I love that. Wow.
And then here's a poem you wrote that goes here. I'll make it big enough that you can read it.
Okay.
There you go.
Taking seriously these reds and oranges, especially when attached to the green. Yellow always circling the sun and bringing the best circle of the day. We are more bespoken than we think. Everyone gliding through the garden, resting, writing, picking, watering, and centering. When a morning begins here, there is some serious color going on, and I feel given to, and I hear life all around me being given to. Open mouth, little bird, fed by large Mama Gaia.
Oh, that is
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
perfect. Oh, that is
Remember
so
when you wrote
good.
that? That was wonderful.
Wow. Thank you, honey.
Okay.
The consequential reference of every need is quoted and recorded in its depth and width. The folded memory of time yields to the surface to this now awakening initiative that folds through our planet, our universe. We are not alone in its entirety. No one is ever alone. We are all inside the map within the planetary seed of need.
I love that. Planetary seed of meaning.
Thank you, I do too.
You want to read that one?
The purpose and presence of this time is negotiating a whole new level of what crusts the bread, provides the heat. Looking through the layers of light, I begin to reach for the closest plank to build with, and it is white and smooth of surface. I take a black pen and I begin to write. I love this one.
Oh, I do
It's the
too.
Firefly Luminaries. Conversation with your witness will create many new juxtapositions to weave through. I think that one on top of that, that's two different collages.
Yeah.
But I really love the way it went.
I
I don't
do
know
too.
how that.
But I like it. It's like
Uh-huh.
stair stepping. It's like it's coming forward.
It's
Like
it's coming out of
the
that.
one behind that one came out of the bigger one.
Like
Oh
that
my
one,
conversation.
God.
and that one's like
my-
it's corrugating
Square
out this way.
perspective.
Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah,
Oh, that
fabulous.
is so cool.
Thank you for seeing that.
That is so cool. The memory encases all our cellular initiations, and the particle awareness begins to know itself as real. Speaking forward, in more terms than are known, we begin to occupy the space of knowledge fully, in a way that does not entangle the mind.
Oh, that's showing that. I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
showing that. There you go.
Words are words. The mind entangles words in a way that is measured, accounted, limited, and judged. To not entangle the mind is to break free of the knot of control. Moving more forward in the rhythm of what truly is does not happen when the mind of entanglement is involved.
Let's see, I see an extra space there. I'm going to take care of real quick. And then poem here is this one I wrote.
I love this
I'll
one.
make it big enough to read too.
We're talking about the Antarctica of Peter going to the Antarctica,
and
being on 3 of the
yeah.
cruises.
And now
Look at
here's
this
the
one.
Arctic. Thinking Arctic breezes, Antarctica tundra, below freezing temps, wind chill factors. The moon pool invites us into its watery depths, up to our neck in coolness on this hot, hot summer day. Imagine the iced coffee is a steaming hot mug of cocoa in hand, while overlooking the outreach of a snow bluff. We are content to be where we are, when we are, and the use of a loaded imagination gives us a shot at being cooler than we first thought.
Oh,
So that
love
makes
it.
that'll
Yes,
make
isn't it, Peter?
that'll make sense in the dead of winter as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've sent that to Peter. You're right.
I think he'll like that.
Yeah.
Through all this work, all the small frenzies of thread are freed to connect in whole new ways in an embodiment that can begin to understand its own purpose. The full integrity of this process is becoming threaded through all the internetting systems and freeing up the threads of enslavement.
Wow.
As you read that, it just really tactily felt the fleshing out of being threaded into this space more.
I do
Going
too.
going up and down.
Up and down like
Feels like we're
a
being
weaving.
stitched, like
Oh.
we're weaving. Yeah, we're part of those threads that movement. It's almost like the DNA movement is going up and down through. We're carrying it around the house.
Well,
and
since
moving it, it's
we bought
wild.
home the last storage unit,
Mhm.
which was our studio, that's what it is. It's like we're threading it into the whole rest of the house. And it's going to all 3 floors, threading up and down till we're all one piece.
And as we do it,
Our past, present,
we
and
become
future.
more real with every passing
We
thread.
become more real. Oh my God.
That's what it felt like. Just they're freeing up the threads of enslavement. We're not enslaved because we're being stitched back into the internetting system.
How do y'all like that?
I love that.
Doesn't that feel
The whole,
wonderful?
You've given me the chance to, this week to do the sewing together those 2 blankets.
Yes.
Because I was thinking, when you do a blanket stitch, you stitch and you combine 2 pieces, but then you go and you pick up another thread, and when you do, it makes like a fence.
Oh my
And
God.
it connects them all, just like
Yeah.
we're talking here, the internetting system. So
Oh,
that's
that's
so
beautiful,
cool. I
Sandra.
love that.
me too. It was
Love
just
that.
a wonderful
And
experience.
the threading you did, I looked at it and I thought, God, how did you do that?
I know. I saw
It is
it
so
too.
beautiful.
It
Thank
is.
you.
It's
just-
2
but it's a really
chocolate
cool,
brown fleece blankets
Uh-huh.
that we got very inexpensively to keep us warm in that back room, because that room basically has very little heat, and it's we love it, but it takes a bit to make sure you keep it warm, and we do a lot of unusual things to keep that room warm. And then we did something even more magical, is that Sandra was talking to me about the wonders of
down.
a down comforter, and we had every year, years, we had bought a major sleeping bag from L&L Bean or another place, and they're like,
Double wide.
$150.
It's not a single.
It's a double
It's
wide.
a double
But-
sleeping bag.
It would go to temperatures below 0, and we had one we used for years, and finally the zipper broke, and it became more and more not so fulfillingly warm, and so we thought, oh well, we'll just get we didn't really think we could
another one.
afford another one that expensive, so we said, oh, here's one for a double wide, and it looked really pretty, and it was only $59. And that's how it was, about $59 worth of heat. And we found that out last year. and with the whole thing with as you get older, keeping your
Body
whole
core,
body, your core
warm
warm
enough.
and your feet
Mm-hmm.
was quite a little time. And so this year we thought, well, we better get ahead of the game. And so she was telling us about the beauty of down blankets.
Mm-hmm.
And when she said it, it was like she was reciting some kind of
Oh, I
poem
know.
of pleasure.
I
mean-
I lust for down comforters.
And Christina had talked to me about that they had got one, and how wonderful it was, and
Oh my God, yeah.
and so there we are down at the below part of the house at the end, and I said,
Coldest room in the house.
and so we thought,
Other than
well,
the basement.
yeah, so we thought, well, we're going to seriously look at it. We went to Big Lots, or we call it Wonderland, but they don't carry things, that
Like
fine.
that.
Yeah.
So they didn't have any. And then we said, well, we'll look it up online. We'll find out, what is, what was it? What is, I'm so unfamiliar with it, I can't. Down blanket,
yeah,
really.
Comfort.
I knew it had to do with, geese and ducks and everything.
Feathers.
Which, no, but I didn't want to think about that. And there's a place here on the way to Belfast that's like a duck trap.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, I thought, well, I'm going to brave it. So we look it up, and truly it is duck feathers or or goose feathers. And the funny thing is that when we go for our walk by the river and by the ocean, at certain times of the year, there's these ducks. Let's see. What are they called?
Eiders?
Eiders. And I call them eider
Eider
downs.
downs.
And Robert said, no, that's what they make, but they are not eider downs. That isn't their name. And
That's like you drive past a cow and go, look, oh, cow meat.
cow steak. That's a cow steak. And so I kept trying to
So
remember it,
cute.
but it just kept there. The eider downs, it's like, So anyhow, we found out they had beautiful ones, but they were like $600 to $1,000, and we said, oh my God.
Whoa.
And so we said,
I'm
well,
glad you were looking.
and I never searched things up, but I did search that up.
Yep.
And then I found out how much they ran and what the difference is in the eider down, or the goose feathered ones and the duck feathered ones. And there's a new kind of thing that it pretends like it's a duck, but it's not. and that one is
Ooh, it's a
really up
wind-up
and
toy.
running. It's got stuffing like the other comforters, but it has nothing to do with
Ducks.
ducks
Dwarf.
or geese or
Yeah.
goose, and except save them, I guess. But then also I found, so I thought, oh God, so I thought I'm going to get on the eBay, and I mean
eBay. I like you.
Robert, I've been in something new.
Even
I get on eBay, and I found not eider down, but come on, help me
Down.
out
Down
here.
alternative?
The beautiful down comforters, and they have them. They have some that have been used before. I didn't particularly want those, and then they had the hotel ones that had them on sale, and then all the ones I saw, Eddie Bauer, queen size,
And overstock.
down, isn't that right? Not down. It's called
Down comforters. Yeah.
comforter,
Mhm.
and it was the price of our sleeping bag that we usually, the nice one that we get, and they had an overstock.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh my God, we had saved up to get the thing, so we, with that price, we could get it, so that we could.
So instead of getting the sleeping bag, we got the comforter.
We got the comforter, and then Suzanne and Christina had given us several gifts of what is it?
Gift certificate.
Gift certificates to Fine Art America.
Yeah, that's it. Gift certificates. I'm getting tired. To Fine Art America, and we were able to get the cover for it with the mother on it,
Mother.
and it's the mother is in this book, and she. I just feel like we had been given it years ago, and we hadn't used it. We couldn't decide what to do, and we were so excited about it that we didn't do anything. And so then
So
it
much
was all
So
to
many
saved up
options.
Yeah.
for this time,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and it just put together like
Mhm.
magic.
Yep.
And the mother is so important to us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular mother touches real close into me. And
Mhm.
I used her in this class, and you'll see her several
Yeah.
times. I love all the mothers that we did, but somehow this mother and I are threaded together tight. And now I'm going to be able to sleep with her,
You'll be swaddled in her.
Yeah,
swaddled
in
in
I
her
love
Her
love.
it.
nurturance.
And
It'll be so beautiful.
Robert and I are going to love that.
And we'll be
what
warm.
A gift.
That'll be
And
so
we'll
nice.
be warm in
Oh.
that room.
Oh, there she is.
There she is. the
She's
very next
oh my
image.
God, she's the next one.
She's the next one. So that's.
And there's
page-
me with
I
her.
wish I could see that.
Oh my God,
Asleep. It
numbers.
looks like you're sleeping.
I'm asleep there with her in this
The
picture.
duvet cover.
This is quite.
This is on page 27 of the flip book. So
Yeah.
that's the one we're talking about.
Okay, so
yeah,
read
and
the
you're,
next
look
part.
at that, and
Look
you're
at the
sleeping.
words
Your
are-
eyes are closed, and
Mhm.
the inset. That's weird. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm so grateful.
We are now moving more quantity into the world that now has learned to thrive in a more consistent way. There are those, and there are those. And all of those are here, so they can listen.
Yes.
Maybe listening will untangle the weave, unknot a knot, uninquire the query that has no center. And that's with this
That's
image
wow.
of remembering the mother who speaks to me in rhythms, clicks, and deep tones.
Isn't
That is
fantastic?
just
So she's the
exquisite
one
there.
when at the classes
Mm-hmm.
years ago when I
Yes,
would channel
she's
the
the one.
mother.
She's the one.
She would do these clicking and deep tones, and
Mhm.
you all remember this. And I never put that together. No wonder I'm swaddled by her.
That is the
She's the
perfect-
one that does the clicks
Look at
and the
that
deep tones.
combination there of you with
No,
you're
that is
writing
unbelievable.
a transparency over your face. So here's two pictures. One that has the transparency of the writing over my face earlier, and now you there with the mother. It's just
Well, see, you
So
can see
perfect.
she is out of a very rich, deep tone,
mm-hmm,
ancient people.
mm-hmm,
Oh, love that.
I
Can you
love
go back
that.
down
Huh?
there?
There?
Yeah, that paragraph.
Uh-huh.
There are those, and there are those, and all of those are here so they can listen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this listening will untangle the weave, unknot the knot, uninquire the query that has no center. That's what we were talking about. There's people here on this planet who are here specifically to know about this work.
Yeah,
I'm determined that they're going to hear about it.
yeah. Thanks, Sandra. I
Mhm.
loved what you said that.
The full entanglement of letters, mind, thoughts, decisions, all come to one crease, and they bend, and they bend, and they bend.
And those are the people that we've come to give this work to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
They
this
are.
long spoon is
They
for.
can do
Mhm.
this, and the
Mhm.
long spoon is part of that.
Yeah, until they are fully corrugated into a connection that will hold and become a vessel, a situla of sovereignty.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
That's so good. And that's the multiplication. From the one, you crease it, and then you have two, and it looks like a division, but it's actually a multiplication.
Mm-hmm.
So all the folds are multiplying. And as you fold it, you corrugate it, and things become closer and closer and closer.
It will become a vessel.
And I think what's in the center of this time with this reach for membership is a time of a diverse decision,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's like a lot of people love what we do. They even understand it. They need it, but their life, there's no room in it, and they like knowing we're here with it. They like having it from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want it to really change their lives. They don't want it so much that they're breathing it. They don't want it like we
They're
want
hungry.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to but if they don't want this kind of change like we want it, it probably won't happen. people are on the verge of of wanting that kind of change and talking about it and coming together
it's right
and getting upset.
A lot
But
of times that's at the edge of despair.
it's at the
Simple.
edge of despair.
Yeah.
But they don't want this. They in the long spoon. It means that it's there every month. It's there with much nourishment, and it's all laid out and curated to meet the need. And they don't know if they want the need met. They don't know if they actually want to spend that much time with that need. And I remember that when I started, before I started this work, my whole life changed, and it was really, do I want this bad? And everything started tumbling in, and I didn't even have a choice at that point. It was like at the point when I met Robert, that I didn't know if I really wanted as much change as he was going to be. And I remember telling him that. And also I remember telling my source that this would be a big bridge to jump off of, and that I didn't really know if I wanted to do that, if I had room in me to even do that and to change my life on those levels. And I was walking down a lane. It was starting to get dark, and Robert had come for actually a training working with flower essences, and he had a tent, and anyhow we were walking down the road of the creek, and some coon hunters came up, and they shined their
Right at
lights on
dusk.
us,
Yeah.
and it blinded both of us, and we stepped aside, and Robert stepped to the side of the road, and I stepped off the bridge. The very bridge that I said I didn't think I could step off of, I physically, in reality, stepped off a bridge, and I fell 10 feet, hit into an old dead tree, and in the water. I think it was more than 10 feet because it was a bridge. But anyhow, I landed in the tree, and the coon hunters were up above with their flashlights shining on me. And Robert was like I was claiming his life, and all at once I disappeared. And they were looking down, and I remember thinking my leg was really hurt, and I thought, I am going to either scream or I have to start laughing. And I started laughing. I could hear myself saying that I didn't think I could step off this bridge, and all at once I was off it, and I was in a tree, and these stupid coon hunters were shining their lights on me, and it was hysterical. I was hysterical. They were hysterical. Everything was, and they pulled me up, and they got me out, and I had a very bad.
You're lucky you didn't get impaled.
Yeah.
Or killed. Yeah.
And it changed my life, and I never ever asked that question again. And I never ever. I just kept jumping. Okay, another bridge, jump. Another bridge, jump. Because I knew that I had already given up that kind of choice. And people, if you come into this world at this time, you've already given up that kind of choice.
Yeah.
You are saying no to your own future. You're saying no, and it's going to happen anyway. And so people right now, it's like, well, how much time do I want to spend inside that depth of consciousness? How much time do I want to give it? And I remember thinking, when Robert and I first started doing the work and drawing together, that I didn't like choosing intuitively. There were too many primaries in that bunch, and I didn't like them. And I remember going upstairs and having a big fit. I did. I had a big baby fit. And I told my own divine source, which I was seeking, that why in the world did he put me together with this man who does contemporary art, and I am more of a traditional Renaissance kind of artist, and I work with flowers, not paint pens or paints, and working with these abstract designs, and I was just really mad. And I got done with my fit, and I realized that I really already gave up my choice. So I can either love it or be mad and fight it, or go completely dead in my mind. This is where people are right now, because if you live here on this planet, you really don't have a choice anymore to not become more conscious. You really don't have a choice to not fill your life with a deeper awareness. You really don't have a choice to ignore us any longer.
Mm-hmm.
You have no choice to ignore this huge website with everything that you need for this time. Everything over years being prepared to be your dinner. You're plated up already and you don't even know it. And the thing is if you don't eat, then guess what? You'll be starving before you turn your head around. And this is being offered at this time because you're starving and you don't know it. And you think you've got plenty of food, but the next day you could be absolutely no food. And you better be ready. You know how people are kind of, they're kind of storing up their food. They're getting ready for something. Well, the something is inside of us. It's not outside of us. We need the food inside. And not food that we're chewing up, although we need that. We need the food of new thought, of conscious, and tools to help us shimmy ourselves up. And so you can either not take this time to have this given to you, or you can be prepared, because you can't afford to not expand your way of seeing.
Perfect.
So,
Wow, that's so true.
and I know it, and I know it because I have
lived it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've lived every time I thought it was too much, and then I didn't eat my dinner, and then all at once I found myself with no dinner. It's kind of like, in Mary Sendak's, when Max got mad and didn't have his supper, and then he was in another land, and then he realized he should have eaten his dinner.
That's true.
The entirement of a life is only one molecular decision of one cell generating a full body of work. This body of work has to begin from its own entirety, and the sovereignty is in the original thought to live. To live is not what is called living, and this is true galactically. All the marks of giving and received, brave marks, risking being together.
That's awesome.
That's a painting.
Wow.
Wow, but the way
A painting is marks risking to be together. People can hardly take the risk when they're the only one marking. What do you think is a risk if two people living together, side by side, hand on hand, risk marking together? We've risked marking together until marking together is no risk at all. Right now in the world, marking together is one of the greatest risks out there. We're an endangered species because we don't know how to mark without risking. Okay.
That is so good.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. I'm glad it's there. All purchase tickets will unpurchase their fee and create a rhythm that creates home without money, without cause, without effect, without taught, without learn, without decision, without judgment, only existence to express.
The full fold of this is dampened by the waters of recognition of volume, and the interior wade of water creates a flowing enmeshment of circular rounds. The turning forward is now agreed upon, and the swaddling is entered within the crown, and the full speed is given room. And this is a physical.
Now here's four boys, young boys, having to learn to risk marking together. And it actually wasn't easy for them.
Mm-mm.
My grandsons were helping their best friends, and still their best friends, to learn how to mark on one piece of paper together. There was a lot of a lot of nervousness going on. We taught this class to them. Counting, moving the square, and its perspective. Brave young men.
Yep.
They're now in college. The pleasures of past are weighed in the first. The pleasures of present are weighed in second. And the pleasures of future are flowing through the rhythms, creating the weight of pleasure. There's a lot in that.
There is a lot in that.
Do you want to unpack it, Robert?
The
Or just let it sit?
Pleasures, I'll read it again because I want to hear it again. The pleasures of past are weighed in first, because you're familiar with that.
Yeah,
The pleasures of present are weighed in second. And that's the next registry. The pleasures of future are flowing through the rhythms, creating the weight of pleasure.
That is awesome.
That is a trinary.
Yeah.
Bringing pleasure forward, shimming up the gur, allowing that rhythm to keep reaching up.
It makes you wonder if the future, what is the future really?
Mm-hmm.
Is the future creating the weight of the past? Is the present creating the weight of the future? Or is the future creating the weight of pleasure that then becomes the pleasures of the past weighed in first?
Cool.
Yeah.
Because in the trinary code, all are the same.
And think about it. You think of, there are those weighted blankets that make people feel comfortable and secure. But the weight of the past, the weight of the present, and the weight of the future can be any number, dependent on what's needed. So the past could feel very, very heavy to you. The future could feel very, very light, and the present in between. But each one of those are just fulfilling a need that you have about the past, the present, and the future.
Because sometimes our past feels so heavy because
Yeah.
we need to fill it, but in actuality, when we get a second time round, we find out it's not near as heavy as we thought.
So thought changes the numbers of the weight. It has that capacity. Thought changes the numbers of the weight.
And that's in the Egyptian mysteries, because when the weighing happens, it's the thought that either makes it light as a feather or heavy.
So if you match your thought to your intention, and your intention is light, then you've secured your future, which has secured your present, which has secured your past.
I wonder also if it's how we've often talked about there's an isness that is threaded between the past, present, and future. A truth told twice, or there's an animated pulse that threads between past, present, and future. And I wonder if that isness is the pleasure, the weight of pleasure, and it's actually comes from the future flowing back to give all that. That's the isness that flows through all the past, present, and future. Is that pleasure? I wonder about that too. It's cool.
That's a good question. Very good.
Very good question. And I'd say if you love creating and you love sewing, that very much holds true.
I was just thinking that stitch, it reminded me as you were saying that, Suzanne. Yeah. That stitch, how it's in, then it goes in, and then it goes out and picks up another and brings it back in. It's just
And as we come farther along in this work, we worked with the whole concept of the isness of our lives and the isness of was and the was of is and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But as you come into this rate speed, it's all at once. None of them are happening.
Mm-hmm.
There is no isness that is relating to the past, and there is no past that's relating to isness. There's just you being. And I think that's the step over that we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
How we weigh in our the way we are in time. It's we've done it so many times that all at once it's all the same. It's just us being. Like we think, well, that was the wasness of me, but it's not the isness, because I wasn't as conscious then, and I was being not who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
But in actuality, as you change who you are now, that's all there is. It's just who you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
So pretty soon, we don't have past.
Mm-hmm.
We're just here now expressing. We're not trying to create a future. We're not trying to get over a past or create a past. We are just here expressing. And when you're just here expressing, you're no longer distracted in time in three different directions. So all at once, you just hear. You just taste. You just feel. You just sense. And when you just sense, you're not distracted. And so for the first time, your body can do what it was made to do. We are so distracted that we cannot feel, we cannot hear, we cannot see, we cannot experience. But when we express, we're nowhere but here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just who we are.
Yeah.
That's why expression is so hated, because expression consumes everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens when an artist begins to express. Pretty soon, everybody disappears. Everything disappears. Even their pains, their past, present, their future, all disappear. They are just expressing. They don't even have a sense of presence. So expressing is really one of the most physical, powerful pleasures of existence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we come.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
really
Yeah,
insightful.
I loved it too.
Yeah.
I never saw that before.
Thank you, baby. The folded environment is resolving the unfolded past, and the unfolded past is resolving the history of living. Purpose is the place of recognition, and nothing can set without it. If you think you can go on without it, turn the corner and see without it. There is nowhere to go. And
There she is.
Yeah.
The mother that
Mhm.
clicks. I
Mhm.
love it.
I do too. If you cannot recognize what is given, you'll never see the hand that holds the gift of what you wait for. And what you wait for becomes without a hand to give. The whole story of Hook and Peter Pan and the lost hand of non-recognition. It is the crook of the hook, the pirate, that steals away the gift and cannot receive anything but the hook. The point is, there is no point in moving a galactic creed if there aren't any hearts beating with the recognition of what has been given and what would unfold, so that the continent of planet can only repeat itself with what it is, not what it could be. A potency not given to seed, and a seed unfertile, ungenerated, unshared, unsaid, is unparticleized. And then I love that.
A
One
life
of
of
your hat,
expression. Yeah.
and that's in the crown. We saw it today.
That's the crowning involvement.
The crowning
Yeah.
involvement.
Yep.
This is the score of salt that has returned time after time, life after life, potency after potency, ungenerated with sound. There is a seed, a small seed, a tiny seed, a microscopic seed, all tucked in, waiting for the breath of recognition.
Mm.
I've got
beautiful.
a misplaced. Here we go. Here.
Yeah.
There. Potency is a period of deep, rich pleasure that has corrugated itself into an intensity of ecstasy. The power is in the mind of the soul that hasn't forgotten what it is and why it has returned. Oh, that's a good collage there of the dreaming self, the fish
The mind of the
files,
soul.
the mind of the soul.
Remembering
Oh,
what it has come here for.
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's so beautiful.
And sharing it.
I'm going to read the closure.
Closure. Space moving through the question that must be remembered before it is forgotten and no longer recognized as an answer.
Yeah, so good.
Wow.
And this is with a collage of the Syrian Phalines.
The Syrian Phalines are master. They have come to help our planet. And actually all of them, their midwives, have helped us birth into a completely new expression. And we put them on here because they are our mothers, our heroines. And I love that these are the ones that Peter just loved. He wanted to know who they were. He wanted. We had one in the kitchen. He wanted to go see it. It was like, and it's so odd because they're kind of odd looking, and he just loved them, and I love the fact he recognized them. And then I realized that he's part of midwifing for us too.
Yeah.
This is over here. That's Moonlace, a Syrian feline, a master cycle mender, the cat of connecting factors of mended lines that curves our reality into a wedded circumference. Soulset is a master positional holder, a Syrian feline, the cat that fortunes a squared reality that corners the sides of our lives. These are good faces to look into.
Yeah.
They're good faces to call to yourself. They midwife us in our world. There's 11 of them altogether. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them.
Yeah.
Well, there's really 12 because the tri-set is 2.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What
So
a
that's
class.
the end
Oh my
of the
gosh.
class.
Yeah.
What a wonderful
An amazing
class.
book.
That
And then
was
we
good.
had this in
There's a
the end
lot
that we
in
read
it.
about Peter. Such a beautiful time for him to give us these words
Yes.
right now. Okay.
So thank you for listening. And
Yes. Thank you for listening. Thank
And
you
growing
for
with us.
making room
Yeah, there's a lot to grow
for yourself to
with
change.
it.
Huh?
There's a lot to grow with inside of this
Yeah.
book.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that we've entered the land of becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that really
Yeah.
that really said
Mhm.
Yeah.
so much with that.
And you can do what Christina and Suzanne suggested is that this is a flip book, so you can go back through it, pick pages in the different collages, but they flip it open like an oracle, and then they allow it to speak to them because it's written for this month and for this week.
Mhm.
And I thought that was an incredible uh, consciousness
Mm-hmm.
that would inquire to expand it in their lives, give it more room. This is just the beginning of giving this to your consciousness.
Mhm. Oh. Well, let's see. Today's the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Next Friday is the 21st.
21st.
So we will see you then. And in
Uh-huh.
the meantime,
We'll
we
be
hope
putting
you
both these on the
sign in
on the
up
spoon,
for the membership,
long spoon.
and they'll be in that member area.
Yeah.
To refer to.
and we're going to keep the month of October on this year, all year,
Mm-hmm.
because it has a lot of introductory things in the long spoon
Mm-hmm.
that if someone comes on later, that they can listen to this and get the introductory material plus the material for that month.
Yeah,
So that's what our thing is. We'll be able to do that, won't we?
I think so.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. We love you
Okay.
guys.
Thank you for
Thank you
listening.
so much, Suzanne.
And we,
Oh,
you are so
welcome.
welcome. We enjoy doing this. Okay, well, next week then.